wanted to test you with that comfort or that pain. Okay, so quick recap: creator, owner, and fully in charge. So they made this dua, and this is really a beautiful dua, something for us to inshallah memorize in Arabic if we can, or at least the context of it. That, oh Allah, give us mercy from you, right? So it's such a connected mercy. And sort out our affairs. Sometimes you don't know what to do, you don't know what directions to take, what efforts to take, you just seem lost. Okay? So be consistent with the du'as. And obviously, you can go into the etiquette of du'a, being consistent with it, never giving it up, even if you've done it for several months or years. Keep at it. You don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Have your heart present, not just be like saying it without even knowing what it means. Make sure your heart is present in it and be consistent with it, and support your dua with good deeds. Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obviously, so they did the dua, and as we discussed, they took the step. The best thing they could do is run away. And that's another thing, right? Running away is sometimes the best strategy, right? As the sister said, disconnecting. Because one of the things that we do as well, like from wearing my dawah hat, is sometimes people just go and talk to people who are non-Muslims, and they may be philosophers and PhDs and maybe coming with different ideas, and then you just go and expose yourself to different harms. Okay, so just like you wouldn't do that when it comes to healthcare, right? You would take your precaution, like hopefully nobody was going around in COVID and shaking hands and not wearing masks. You would take your precautions. So similarly, when it comes to the fitna of ideas, protect yourself. You don't need to go and read every book and watch every movie. Like many times it happens, right? A person would come in and say, oh, I was watching this thing and now I feel low on Iman. Well, okay, now do you have the time to keep coming and reading? And first of all, do you even have access to someone who can sit down and talk with you? And if there is, then do you have the time to be persistent with it? Why would you go and expose yourself to such ideas? So if you see a friend, an environment, a content that's hurting your Iman, stay away from it. Simple. The second angle of that is sins. Okay, so many times we say, let me just try for once. Okay, I'm just going to try for once and then I'll quit. Well, it's much easier to stay away from something that you haven't tried than to stay away from something that you have tried. Okay, whether it be something you eat, smoke, drink, see, hear. Okay, the first time staying away from it is much easier. But once you try, the more you try, coming out of it is like much harder. So, the safety route of escaping sins, bad company, bad ideas is going to be something that will be a protection for you. So if you go into it, obviously the sooner you come out of it, the easier it is, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's about escape. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then, gave them sleep. And sometimes sleep obviously is another thing, right? Appreciating sleep, right? So many people, they can't sleep. Right? So if you're able to sleep, appreciate that sleep. Don't abuse it. Don't oversleep it. Don't cross the boundary of salah and so on and so forth. But appreciate your sleep and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you tranquility in that. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is able to resurrect them. And then one of the things they started discussing was how long did we stay in there for. Okay. Now continuing on, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we are the one who are telling you their story in truth. Okay, so there's no doubt about it. Okay, it's coming with benefit. So whatever the details that I've mentioned there has benefit. Whatever was not of benefit, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not share with us how many of them were there, how long did they stay, or what were their names. And sometimes people go into unnecessary details where there is no benefit. So again, the word Rabb comes here. So whenever Rabb comes here, try to have that connection. Creator, owner, completely in charge. So here, interestingly, again, look, they, if you take steps, right, they believed in their Rabb, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increased them in guidance. Okay, so one of the things that the scholars have mentioned, that look, a good deed is facilitated. A good deed facilitates another good deed, right? So you have that momentum that's happening. Especially an accepted good deed facilitates another good deed. The opposite is also true. Okay. So that's something to think about. Like sometimes people think, oh, you know what, I didn't pray once, so what? Okay, it's not about just not praying once. It's just like what it will lead to, right? So first you don't pray once, and And sometimes like the shaitan is going to be step by step, right? So maybe first he will take off your sunnah, you don't pray sunnah, or if you pray in masjid, then he'll say, okay, pray at home, and then it will be like, okay, skip the sunnah, then maybe you sleep in, or you delay the prayer until he gets you to miss a prayer, and then you miss another one, and so on and so forth. So the sins also add up. Similarly, good deeds also add up. So do what you can, right? So as we said, if you want to think about this activity, give 5 minutes a day, and then you can, inshallah, be facilitated to make it 10 minutes or 15 minutes, what have you. If not, please just stick to your 5 minutes, inshallah. So that's the lesson here, is to be consistent, do what you can, and Allah will facilitate further and further guidance for you. Okay? All right. So I think we can do some more verses. Any questions about that so far? Okay, so let's do some more verses. And then we'll give you some time to practice some vocabulary in the class. Maybe just focus on one verse or two verses if you can, and then we'll wrap up, inshallah.
Sorry, brother, just a question. Do we pray Isha now, or?
It's at 9 o'clock.
At 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so next week the Isha will be at 8:30, so today we have more time, so let's take advantage of it. Yeah, next week it will be 8:30, inshallah. And then if it comes in too early, then we'll see if you want to do a session before Isha and session after Isha, if it's hard for you guys to come in early, right? Because Maghrib will also keep moving. Alright, so I think you're okay. هؤلاء قوم اتخذوا من دونه آلهة لولا يأتون عليهم بسلطان بين فمن أظلم ممن افترى على الله كذبا وإذ اعتزلتموهم وما يعبدون إلا الله فأووا إلى الكهف ينشر لكم ربكم من رحمته ويهيئ لكم من أمركم مرفقا وترى الشمس إذا طلعت تزاور عن كهفهم ذات اليمين وإذا غربت تقرضهم ذات الشمال وهم في فجوة منه ذلك من آيات الله من يهد الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وتحسبهم أيقاظا وهم رقود ونقلبهم ذات اليمين وذات الشمال وكلبهم باسط ذراعيه بالرصيد لو اطلعت عليهم لوليت منهم فرارا ولملئت منهم رعبا. Okay, let's do word by word. You guys will be doing it. Remember? Okay, let's go. I'll do the Arabic, you do the English. Okay. هؤلاء. Everybody. هؤلاء. قومنا. Okay, see now for our. اتخذوا من دونه. Okay, من دونه. Okay. آلهة. لولا يأتون عليهم upon them to them بسلطان. Okay, be with sultan authority. بين فمن أظلم. Okay, so on the same pattern as akbar, right? Most great, highest, greatest. أظلم who more wrong. ممن افترى. Wake up everyone please. على الله against Allah. كذبا. وإذ اعتزلتموهم. Okay, so see, اعتزل, that's the verb here. Tum, you. So remember, فعلتم, you. Okay, and then you have whom. So the them. Okay, so what's the action? withdraw, leave, okay? Who? You. Okay, so they're talking to each other. When you have left, whom? Them. Okay? Wama, whatever, ya'buduna, they worship, they is coming from waw noon. Or ya and waw noon. Okay, that's giving you they. Okay, if it was ta'budun, that would be you worship. Okay, so ya plus waw noon, they. Ta'budun, you worship. Okay, illa except Allah, fa'bu. So see, that word was earlier as well, right? In awal fityatu, when the youth took refuge, now it's coming in the command form. So remember when we were showing the verb chart, it could be in the command form, then retreat, okay? Then take refuge, retreat. Ilal kahfi yanshur. Okay, who? Third person, he. He will spread. He is coming from ya. Lakum, for you. Rabbukum. Okay, Lord, translate quickly. Creator, owner, nourisher, completely in charge. Okay, mir rahmatihi, from His mercy. He is from His mercy. Okay, so think about it, right? Allah's mercy. وَيُهَيِّئْ لَكُمْ, facilitate lakum, for you, min, from amrikum, your affair, mirfaqa. So that's coming from rifq, right? Rafa, qaf. So mirfaqa. Okay. وَتَرَى الشَّمْسَ إِذَا طَلَعَتْ تَزَاوَرُوا عَنْ كَهْفِهِمْ, their cave, him, okay? ذَاتَ الْيَمِينِ وَإِذَا غَرَبَتْ تَقْرِضُهُمْ, them, okay? Whom? Oh, so this ties for feminine. Okay? So taqriduhum, passing away from them. Okay, what's the verb here? Passing away or cutting them off. Okay? So why is it, who is doing this action? Son. So every word in Arabic is either a male or a female. Okay, from a gender perspective. Okay? So this shows you that son is a female word or a male word? Feminine word. Okay? So that's why it's taqriduhum. Okay, that ashimali, left, please wake up. Wahum fi fajwatin minhu dhalika min ayatillahi man yahdillahu. Okay, so this is sometimes the pattern, right? So Yahdi, he guides, and then you will see the doer mentioned. So Yahdillahu, Allah guides. Fahuwa al-muhtad. Okay, so you see, so now the word hidayah, you have seen it several times in today's lecture. Okay, so if you see ha, da, ya, so here it's in the word form. Muhtad is the one who is guided. Okay, ihdina, guide us. Okay, and I think we also saw hudan. What was the words there? But we saw that earlier. وَزِدْنَاهُمْ huda, right? So that's the noun form. So again, same thing. If you're able to connect that, and when you say huda, when you say ihdina, when you say muhtad, yahdi, you can see that it's all connected to hidayah and guidance, and it will really make it easy for you. Okay, but that will come with practice. Okay, وَمَنْ يُضْلِلْ. So this is from dalal, right? Dallin, yudlil, dalla. Okay, yudlil, he misguides, he lets to go astray. Falan tajida, you is coming from ta. Good. Lahu, for him. Waliya, murshida. I think that's all I recited to, right? Did I read that? Okay, so let's give it 2 minutes for Adhan. In the meantime, if you want to review, we'll do that, and then I'll quickly do a reflection with you on these, and then we'll wrap up. Okay, so we'll do the reflections together. I will walk you through the question that we had, okay? Alright, so what's happening here? So one action, what are the two actions that are happening here? Let's see, what actions can you guys think here that are happening? So one action is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and one action is from the human being. Okay, so what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do? He made them firm. Okay, He increased them iman, He gave them the sabat, He made them firm. Okay, what were the human beings doing? No, in this situation, verse number 14. What exactly? Yeah, so all these things are right, but what specifically is happening here?
They're fleeing from the shirk of society.
Okay, what else? Let's see. There's something very specific happening here. All of you, what you're saying is right from the bigger context, but what's exactly happening here? Okay, who are they saying it to? Each other. So what are they doing to each other? Right? So it's speaking good, encouraging each other to do good, to be firm, right? So using words to condition themselves, right? You know, stating their identity. Okay, and that's really important as well, to speak up. I am a Muslim, I am a Muslimah. Okay, I need to be away on Friday. I do not drink because I'm a Muslim. I submit to Allah. I wear hijab because I'm a Muslimah, so on and so forth, right? So speaking up, you know, being proud of your identity, your worship, your submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also encouraging each other. So that's the idea here. Do we do that? Do I have friends around me that would do that for me? Okay? So that's what I would take away. Right? Do I do that? Do I have people around me that would do that? If I'm, you know, slipping, will they advise me? Will they pull me back or not? Okay? So that's the thing. Speaking up and being surrounded with the righteous people. And hoping in Allah to make us firm. Okay, and if you feel firm in this time and age, don't become arrogant, because had Allah not facilitated that for you, you wouldn't be. So when you seem to be firm and then you see someone who's not and he or she is struggling, don't become proud and boasting about yourself, and don't look down upon other people. So that would be my 3 things here. Okay, and then making it clear, right? Because sometimes people are like, you know, oh, you know what, these are all different paths to God. You know, we are all on the same path. No, you have to call spade a spade. Okay? So how would I go? They are the people who are not worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are going against the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They've taken other ilaha. Maybe it's their own desires. It may be their own thinking. It may be their own culture. That has become their ilaha. Okay? And what is the authority for that? Right? Why don't they bring some sort of authority and proof like that Allah has commanded that? So sometimes people just make it and they say, well, that's the science, that's the statistics, that's the majority, that's the democracy, whatever different things people associate and attribute. Okay? Or sometimes people, you know, we talked about it last time, making up a religion. And you may have Muslims, famous, popular Muslims, who may be in different fields, whether it be science or media or acting or comedy, and then they go and then they talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His deen. So we say the same thing to them. Why don't you bring authority? Why are you talking about the religion of Allah? As it says, who is more wrong, who is more unjust, who is making up stuff against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So that's really, really powerful. Be aware that anybody who has a mic and comes on TV or YouTube or whatever and starts talking about the deen, first of all, is it even his or her field? Okay? So be very, very careful where you take the deen from. And for those people who do that, let's stay in our lanes. Okay? Whatever your lane is, stay in that lane and do not transgress it. So that's, a few things here. Be careful of who you listen to. If you're speaking, be very careful of what you're saying about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you don't know, say, I don't know, I'm not sure. Let me look into it. And then the third thing is, if you see people who are not obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we don't need to be politically correct and then say, yeah, everybody is on the same path and all paths lead to God, right? That sort of approach. Okay, so now again, what's happening here? Encouragement. So encouragement, what else they're doing? What kind of encouragement is here? There's a very interesting type of encouragement. One is, let's do this thing, let's get away from these guys. But there's a very interesting type of encouragement that's happening here. Yes? Hope. Yeah? Having positive expectations from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He will facilitate, right? وَيُهَيِّئْ لَكُم مِّنْ أَمْرِكُمْ مِرْفَقًا. So do this thing and then have good hope from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So it's the taqwa also, because their taqwa, levels of taqwa is believing Allah.
Yes. So having that belief, that iman, that hope. You were going to say something else?
I was just going to add one thing. It's worth reflecting that this is a Makki surah, and this is revealed to the people who are learning from this, the early Muslims.
Right, yeah.
Persecuted in Makkah.
Yes, especially when times are hard, you're being persecuted, and yeah, good point there. So leave them, and leave also the things or the system or the whatever ilaha that they are worshipping. Sometimes it could be system, sometimes it could be an idol, sometimes it could be an ideology. And having that hope that Allah will make it easy for you. So always, whenever we make dua, always having hope and also encouraging each other. Okay. Very interesting verse here. And so first thing I want to talk about here is science. Okay, so Quran is not a book of science. Okay, when you read a scientific journal, the language used in a scientific journal is different language than a regular literature. Okay, so if I ask you what time is sunset today, what would you say? 7:04. But then I would say, hey, you know what? Sun doesn't set. Does sun set? Right? There's no setting of the sun. That's a phenomena we observe. However, when we are speaking common language, we use these words. So some people, when people have to criticize, they will just pick anything and run with it. So, okay, why is Quran saying this thing? And they'll take the literal meaning and say, why is Allah not using? Well, it's not a scientific journal. Okay? So that's just something to be aware of, that Quran is not a scientific journal. And, it talks in the common language, just like how you and I would talk from the usage of the word and phrases and idioms and so on and so forth. Okay? So you might see sometimes some people criticize on these things. Okay. So, yeah, so that's talking about, describing that scenario. Okay. Then, what is this? This is a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reflection on the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we talked about earlier, to focus on that, to reflect on that, and not just like keep walking away, and actually admire the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Two very important principles here. Again, everything is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you feel guided, if you feel the facilitations to come to the class or to pray the salah, always thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and appreciate it, and do not look down at other people. Yes, you can advise them, you can teach them, do nasihat to them, but do not look down at them. Okay, the second thing is, sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want someone to be guided. Okay, that's not a random choice. Allah has all the choices based on His hikmah. He's not going to be unjust to anyone at all. So some people may not be guided. Sometimes we may be struggling with a family member. So one thing is, we don't know because they haven't died yet. Right? Sometimes people die and they haven't been guided from what we can see. Then that's also a choice from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first thing being is always appreciating what Allah has given us, always asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and always being careful to not disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes we disobey Allah and we think it's not a big deal. We'll come back and ask for forgiveness. but we don't know which step can lead us to be from the people whose hearts are sealed. So something to be really careful when we disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That would be mine. Anybody else wants to add anything to any of these verses? Okay. All right. Thank you again. Let's be consistent. I think classes are very important. Yes, you can do online, but there are many programs online. There are many virtues of coming here. Hopefully you interact with each other. Hopefully you make new friends, community, inspire each other, push each other to do more, right? Maybe you can even set up something. Okay, let's have a quick 10 minutes call every day or 5 minutes call every day, and we can work things together. Or if you see people together, if you see them in the masjid anyways, let's have partnership and friendships so you can work together. People who are following online, similarly find partners, friends, and practice it at home. And let's connect with Quran and benefit from it. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.